Do you know how to bring back your old flames? Well, we are talking about e-commerce, right? So if you want to learn how to bring back your customers with reactivation campaigns, it's time for chapter 14. And my guest today is Chloe Thomas. She's an e-commerce expert, author, and podcast host. With 2 decades of experience in e-commerce, she helped countless businesses to grow their online sales. She's also the author of several books, including E-commerce Marketing, How to Get Traffic That Buys to Your Website, and Customer Persuasion. On top of this, she's also the host of the popular E-commerce Master Plan podcast. Stick around to find out how to reactivate your customers, how to match the wrong customers with the wrong products, and many more tips about how to reactivate your customers. So, Chloe, thanks a lot for joining me in this episode. We are going to chat about chapter 14, about these hard efforts and not always too successful efforts to reactivate customers.
Yeah, it's one of those super hard parts of marketing, isn't it? And yeah, I do like the fact that in the chapter you go, you're not going to convert 90% of them, everybody, because it's like, don't get overly obsessed. You've got to do it, but it's not as important as some of the other bits. So I love the fact you were pointing that out.
Yeah, indeed, it's I felt it on my own skin because back in the days I thought, look at this company, they have 400,000 customers that haven't bought in the last year, so it's a gold mine. Yeah, it is, but that gold mine is not that big. I mean, you can definitely do something about it, but indeed, it is very hard to change behavior because the brain works on recency. So the more recent something happened, the more prone you are to do that something again. But if you've bought from an e-commerce 2 years ago and it was just one time, so chances to hear from that, to pay attention to that brand and to come back to buy again are pretty low.
Yes and no. So I don't know if you know this, Valentin, but I started my career working in my career in e-commerce working in mail order. So the
Mhm.
heart of the RFM. I was looking at RFM spreadsheets, working out who we were going to mail to, and we regularly went back 5 or 6 years, and that would perform better than our cold lists. And at Christmas time, because I was working in a gift business, we would
Yeah.
regularly go back really far. But the reason we knew we could do that was because we were analyzing everything at little segment level. And as I was picking it, I was going, right, which segments drove us money last year? How deep can I afford to go? And at which point do I cut off? And I think your analogy of the gold mine earlier was spot on, because whenever anyone's mining, 90% of what they pull out the ground is rubbish, and like that, if they're
Yeah.
lucky, 10% is valuable. And I think that for me is always one of the key things with reactivation. It's who do we actually want to put some effort into reactivating. And from the gift perspective, we knew it worked better at Christmas than it did at any other time of the year. So the summer mailing was tiny, but the Christmas mailing, we go a lot deeper. So I think there's a lot of clever stuff you can definitely do in there, most definitely.
Yeah, I think one very important thing is to be aware that one size fits all is not working. So
Mhm.
eh, eh, and and that was the whole caveat of these CVO campaigns, because you have acquisition, onboarding, prevention, and now we're talking about reactivation. Things can be done, and while you are doing these kind of things, you can also learn a lot about your own audience and about the reasons that make them churn, let's say, or get distracted or attracted by the competitors of your e-commerce.
I did love that part in your chapter, because I think so often people think about reactivation as being automated, hasn't bought for 2 years, ping them an email going, do you still want to hear from us? And it's like, that's like, teeny tiny primary school, toddler child level of doing reactivation. And I love that fact that you put into it about how you're, doing that survey piece to actually go and understand why aren't they buying again, and ideally doing it via your lovely customer segments too, because quite often that will give you a great bit of insight into how your product isn't as good as it could be, or how actually you were recruiting people from the wrong point in time. Like a lot of companies who go a bit crazy over Black Friday end up recruiting a load of the wrong customer, and you're not going to re-recruit, you're not going to reactivate them, because they really shouldn't have been, you should have been trying to make them buy from you in the first place. So I thought that survey element, to put that in there, I mean, obviously, you're going to learn a lot, but you've also got that fact if you're involving the customer. And as we all know, if you can involve them, they're more likely to convert and buy anyway. So it's kind of like a double whammy. But I've not heard I don't think I've heard anyone else really talking about that at that stage of the journey and the way you were talking about it. So I love that within the chapter.
Yeah, it's basically, and I've just posted about this today, because back in the days when I've started my journey as an e-commerce entrepreneur, and I was struggling because my wife was making more money than I did, I was asking myself, why? I mean, why is this happening? And it was clear that we made a lot of money, but we haven't been profitable. And one key element was voice of the customer. I mean, because I was staring in Google Analytics for hours, and I think Pain has this gift of making you aware and making you, let's say, find solutions. And for me, it was one of our solutions was, you know what, how big is our retention rate? What keeps our customers from coming back? And we've blasted our customers with a survey, and we found out, wow, our perception about our own business reality was so different than the actual reality from the eyes of the customers. And that's why I'm a big fan of customer research, of surveys, of validating your hypothesis, because at the end of the day, we as e-commerce professionals, entrepreneurs, we are all biased. I mean, nobody is like that has the absolute truth, and whatever he thinks, whatever he's going, whatever he does, it's absolutely right.
Well, yeah, you get kind of blinded to it all. My favorite example of a customer survey I ever did was I was working for a company who sold, they were a broker essentially. They were an Airbnb on a tiny scale for the local area where I live, which is this peninsula at the very far end of the UK. It's warm, it's a bit Mediterranean in summer. It's a peninsula, so we're surrounded by beaches. We did this customer survey of everybody, it wasn't specifically a reactivation one.
Yeah.
And we asked them why they chose to come on holiday to this area. And the number one word, when we word clouded it all, was beaches. The number two was relaxation. Number three was dogs. We never talked about relaxation or beaches because we all lived there. So well, obviously there's beaches. Why would we talk about beaches in the marketing? But because we asked the customer, we went, oh. So I think then we ended up doing emails like the top 5 beaches and the top this, talking about, most relaxing places to stay. And all of a sudden response rates went up, and it was like, oops, we missed it.
Yeah, it's the life of a marketer is full of surprises sometimes, and I think being curious and staying curious and not thinking that you know it all, it's part of being a good marketer. To have this investigative nature in yourself.
Definitely. Otherwise, I mean, you have to assume it's a journey of exploration, and that you probably don't have the answers. I think as you spend more time in the industry, and I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, you get better at guessing, but you still have to be like, but this is just a guess. This is something to test. This isn't, I'm definitely right, so this is going to work. You've still got to go, oh, we'll test this, and if it's terrible, it's terrible. But if it's good, great, we'll do more of it. You kind of have to leave the ego aside, I think.
Yeah, one thing that I see happening more often than back in the days is that companies turn their eyes towards data. So I think the good news is that they back up their decisions with data. And also professionals, I don't know, right now you can't be a copywriter, a good copywriter, unless you look at the data, right? You look at the engagement, you look at the bounce rate of the blog articles that you're writing or whatever. So data is part of the equation more often than it was back in the days. And I think if you blend this marketing creativity and messaging and whatever with data, that's where you can hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think that we're in a space where we're getting very into the data, but people are forgetting to do the qualitative side of the data. They might have done some zero-party data capture to segment an email list or something, but they've not gone with those open-ended questions where you're just trying to get the customer to talk to you, because open-ended questions are a lot of work to process at the end of the day. A word cloud will only take you so far. So I think there's always that need to balance the qualitative and the quantitative data. What you get out of Google Analytics or Google Search Console or your social media platforms, and the actual words that the customers are saying. I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to take it as far as getting them all in a room and asking them questions, but if you're not putting qualitative questions out there for them, then you are massively missing out.
Yeah, as I've touched in chapter 5, I think I'm a big fan of this qualitative research and doing this jobs to be done research, because at the end of the day, customers are not there because they want to increase your EBITDA or anything, right? They are there because they have struggles, they have needs, they want products to solve their problems. So this unless you know what kind of progress they want to make, and unless you are using their own words, right? Like you've said, Chloe, I love this. I think they are the best copywriters, right? You just need to listen to them, how they articulate the reasoning why someone should buy the products that you're selling.
I think that's one of the times you're speaking to a good copywriter is when they're not just saying what's the avatar, what's the persona of your top customer. They're going, and what have you got that the customer's written? Have you got a file of reviews? Have you got a file of customers' feedback, a file of surveys? Can I access the customer service transcripts? Because they want to get into the voice of the customer. And that's when the copywriting, that plus copywriting nous, knowing how to hit all those neuro triggers, that's when it becomes super, super powerful.
Yeah. uh, and and looking a bit at this reasoning, I also love the fact that if you blend qualitative research with quantitative research, like you see, for instance, the the yellow flags for ex-lovers, right? Which, from an RFM perspective, they are the best ones that you want to reactivate, because their lifetime value is the highest. But their reasons for not buying again might be different than the reasons for the breakups, which are one and done customers, right? They are there only for the price. They have no affinity with your brand. They don't care. And once you know this type of nuances and the differences between them, you can come up with evergreen campaigns. And that's why I think reactivation campaigns uh, are to be done backed by research and then fine-tuned, because they can be on a set it and forget it kind of approach, right?
Yeah, you can come back maybe once every year, once every 2 years, depending on how your like the top of the funnel has changed, where you're getting your traffic from, and how you're driving recruitment even, and how often your product range changes. That will determine how often you need to do the survey again. But yeah, I think you have to go into a reactivation with a bit of clever thinking of going, who do we actually want to reactivate? Because
Yeah.
I've seen companies who've had a customer which, if there was someone who was coming into the physical store every week, you'd be like, I've just got to get rid of them. I've got to get rid of them. And you don't ever want to see them come in the store again, because they're a nightmare. They cost too much money. They do the returns. They're always clicking on the ads and all the rest of it. And they only ever buy a pen or something. They're buying like a 50p item, not the £50 items. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's the segmentation. That's the most basic segmentation is, are these actually customers we want in terms of their returns rates, in terms of their AOVs, the monetary part of the RFM, in terms of their frequency? Do we actually want to reactivate them? And then you've got that extra layering over the top of actually what's the right message to be giving them. You talked about you give the case study of the keto company
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
book, and I think it was one of the segments didn't like the taste or got
Yep.
bored of the taste. And it's like, right, well, for them, we've just launched a whole new range of products. We've just improved the recipes. Let's tell them about that, or let's expand their awareness of the full range of our product range. Or it's an ingredient and they're getting bored of how to put it in their salads. Give them some more recipes so they have that reason to keep buying it. Whereas someone who is a bit concerned about the price, it's explaining to them that if they subscribe or they buy in bulk, they'll save money. So we're not giving them a discount code, but we're just working out which of our angles they're going to respond to most. And it's not rocket science. It just takes a bit of effort to do things in the right order rather than just go, oh, let's give them all free P&P and 20% off and we'll reactivate loads and it'll be great. It's like, no, 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 no. You're just creating more problems for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And talking about this type of good customers, bad customers, amazing customers, one issue that I've seen in e-commerce with this one size fits all approach is that before Black Friday, they tease everyone with the same messaging, and they don't take into account maybe they have some product that they want to get rid of, because there is this parity between bad customers and bad products that are not good anyway, and they are just taking up your space from the warehouse. So those kind of methods can be used because you don't want to ruin your margin on giving your best products to your worst customers, right? And these kind
Yeah.
of things can be done like in a progressive manner, right? Let's try to reactivate the customers to buy things that we don't want to sell to our best customers, right? And then you can do this gradually instead of blasting everyone, ruining your margin, not even working a bit with your simple third rule, right?
Yeah, I mean, correct deployment of stock into your marketing channels and your marketing segments is crucial. I think one of the other things that's really important to get in all of this is that the number one way to improve retention is to recruit the right people in the first place,
Yeah.
which is where this whole model becomes quite circular, because as you're actually managing to analyze customer lifetime value and working out how you improve it. For me, I'm not really interested in a brand's overall customer lifetime value. That's not really of any interest to me. I'm interested in how those who were recruited via email, they signed up and then they went on to buy, those who were recruited via Facebook ads and potentially even individual Facebook strategies, those who came in via organic social or influencers or individual affiliates, and so on down the channel list. I want to understand the customer lifetime value there. So then I can work out which of these there's any point in trying to recruit, because you may discover by the channels that's another way of segmenting them, but also to work out where the budget goes in the first place to bring people into the mix. So then we can work out how we better structure that to build the whole thing through, which I think is where the retention, maybe not the retention marketing, but definitely the retention analysis, the reactivation, I should be saying. So not the reactivation marketing, but the reactivation analysis really feeds back into the beginning of the funnel process.
Yeah, I love it because it's aligned with the with these principles that I'm advocating a lot towards knowing what's going on and aligning your actions to it. Well, I think this e-commerce game, and I just want to hear your opinion on it. I think the e-commerce game is getting more complex, and some companies are stuck in the past with the old models: get money, throw some money on Facebook ads, ship the products, repeat. But I think with this competitive landscape, things are not that simple anymore. Not there are very very complex, but you need to do things in a more profound manner, let's say.
See, I agree the same change is happening, but I describe it very differently. So my take on it is that our industry is growing up. The pandemic impact of lockdowns accelerated the consumer move to buying online, and I think we've now reached that point in the product life cycle curve where we've gone from the early adopters and we're now firmly in the mainstream. I'm going to use the wrong terminology, sorry everyone, I didn't swat up on my graph before I came on this.
Yeah.
But we've reached the point where we're now very much mainstream, and what that's meant is that competition levels have risen. So we've got to be better marketers. That 2-3 year period we had where you could come up with to be fair, this is a very good product, but you come up with a random product, chuck some cash at Facebook, and the flywheel just went mad and you could create amazing growth. That time is over, partly because our industry is evolving and because there's more competition, also because the privacy laws came in at the same time and essentially destroyed the old model of the growth. So I think we're having to grow up. I think we're having to learn things which in the mail order world they've been doing for 100 years. When we talk about RFM, the technology makes it considerably easier these days to do, but we're having to go back to the basics of understanding our customers, doing decent segmentation, understanding the fact that we have to create structured, clever promotions. Otherwise, we give away all our margin, as we've just been talking about, as you were outlining with the, selling the wrong product to the wrong customers in the right way. We need to become better marketers, and we need to get better at balancing our channels. We can't just be a one channel pony anymore. We've got to do multiple, which makes the whole thing more complex. We end up with the attribution. So I see it as being a natural evolution of the industry, which I think is kind of exciting from a marketer's perspective, because it means if we can do marketing well, understand the customer, understand our numbers, understand how it all comes together, understand how the different layers fit in together, both throughout the customer journey and between the different channels, then we're in a great space. And yeah, some people aren't going to be able to join us in that space, but that's going to mean less competition.
Yeah, which basically allows you to play into a less crowded place, and will also allow you to build a profitable business, which is mainly the whole idea, right? It's all about profitability nowadays. It's not about growth for the sake of growth.
Yeah, I really, really hope that 2024 is the year where we fully make the switch from growth for the sake of growth to actually measuring everything based on profit. Whatever your profit calculation of choice is, and whether you're happy to run at losing £1 for every order or you need to make 10 for every order, I really hope we make that switch, because I think it would be good for the industry financially, good for the businesses individually, and it's going to be really good for the planet as well, because it means we'll be creating an awful lot less waste, which
That's right.
is good news for all of us, quite frankly. And I'm sure there's plenty of people watching this going, yeah, less stock I have to get rid of would be great. A warehouse full of stock I want to sell would be amazing.
Yeah, that's right. Chloe, thanks a lot for being part of this episode of Chapter 14 in my virtual book tour.
Okay.
Let me
There's the
know.
book. Sorry, crashing your outro.
No problem. So let me know, let our audience know, where can they find you, where can they hear more from you.
Cool. So I guess, I mean, I do a whole load of stuff now. After being in the industry for 20 years, stuff just kind of sticks to you. So to keep it simple for everybody, rather than listing off a whole load of stuff, I'm very easy to find and very active on LinkedIn. So just search for Chloe Thomas and you should find me. And then the other best place to find me is on my weekly podcast, which is called E-commerce Master Plan. Just search for that or my name in your favorite podcast thing, and you will probably, hopefully, find us if our SEO is up to scratch, which it hopefully should be. So yeah, LinkedIn or E-commerce Master Plan podcast would be perfect.
Super. Thanks a lot for being with us. And as for you out there, thank you for watching or listening to this episode. And watch out, because we have the next chapter ready for you, which is going to be the last one from our tour.